Hey everyone, welcome to West Coast Wednesdays. My name is Justin Anchetta, and we are here every Wednesday at 11 to 12, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to get into some Ableton, and we're going to be working in arrangement view today. Just so you guys kind of understand arrangement and session view. Some people get that terminology mixed up, but it's pretty crucial. This is session view, where you have scenes laid out in a grid going down. You have your verse, chorus, right, and your master chain coming down here. And then in arrangement view, this is kind of what most DAWs, this is the more standard Pro Tools style, left to right as you play the tracks. As you can see, I have a lot of these blued out tracks, and these are frozen tracks. And these I chose to freeze by right-clicking, selecting the track and right-clicking it to save on CPU usage. As you can see, it's actually pretty high just from going live. This actually kind of shows that extra CPU usage from there too. You can also try and close out other programs that are not being utilized, and that might save CPU, but obviously I don't really have too much open at the moment. All right, let's get into this today. I'm going to put my headphones on so I can have the mix. You guys have a stereo mix going out. So all of the left and right should make sense for you. Okay, so let's get into this mix here. This is something that has been created in a previous session on our West Coast Wednesdays. And if you want to check those out, maybe Google search West Coast Wednesdays SF Garnish or something, and it should pop up. But what ends up happening is you guys can look at our playlist. We have, I believe, this is our 21st episode for 2021. So exciting news, y'all. Free content for you. If you like it, please like and subscribe to our pages. We're going live on our Twitch page, our YouTube, our Facebook, and out to the Garnish Network as well. All right, let's get into this and just listen into where we're at with this mix. It's been about a week since we jumped into this.
Listen to the rules as they change, as they change.
All right. Our CPU is pretty high. And you know what? One thing that we can actually do in our playback is instead of being at 64 latency, let's go to this higher latency or sample rate. What this does is if I was doing a live recording of something, I would bring it down so there's less latency. But now this should play back better. As you can see, we went from 30 to 11% CPU usage. Let's try this again.
Listen to the rules.
There we go. That cleaned it up.
As they change, as they change. No reason but you. Listen to the rules as they change, as they change. No reason but you now.
We're looking at the bass track right here. As you can see, it's pretty sweet. All the highs cut off above. Lows are boosted a little bit, around 1 to 200.
Don't listen to me. I'm just a dreamer.
The things that are frozen, you can't actually adjust. You'll have to unfreeze these to work on them. But that's totally fine. We'll just kind of keep it like that for now. This is something that we brought in from an Izotope breaker beat and resampled it over here. Put all these EQs on it. Compression, drum bus. Quite a bit frozen over here. I could probably unfreeze these now. Let me turn this down a little bit so I can talk over the top. I can probably unfreeze these now that I changed my sample rate. So pretty important. If you're in record mode and you want that lowest latency, you bring your sample rate down to 128 or so. And then in mixing mode, you can then bring it up. And that's also for mixing and mastering and bouncing down. Quite a bit of tracks here. The very top track, I'm just going to put it as called Order, because this is just a MIDI track that I'm color coding, right? Kind of start naming out what's happening in these areas, because we're going to start arranging and mixing this song. This is a little bit too long of a song. It's about over 7 minutes currently, this jam. So we're going to bring that down by cutting parts out, doing some nice fades and automations, using some racks that we've created to customize the sounds and frequencies of each track, and then the total. All right. So you guys have heard enough of that song to really get a gist of what that song's about. So just a little difference in mixing. Mixing is when you go through individual tracks and you're adjusting specific frequencies and volumes, your effects, your racks on those specific tracks. And then mastering is you take the stereo track of what that sums up, and then you put a final limiter, compressor, your mastering rack on there. And we've actually customized racks for specific instruments: the ukulele bass behind me, the bass, the guitar, the vocals. And we're now going to apply those to this track for the first time, just to kind of see how those contrast what we kind of did generically in the very beginning. So let's start off with the bass, because we already have all these kind of frozen at the moment, which is the drums. Actually, these are the vocals, but I do have some frozen drums, I recall. Here, the hi-hat is frozen. Cool. Looks like the kick is not frozen, so let's start with the kick. In mixing, I always love to start with kick and then go on from there to bass and kind of go up in frequencies as we go. We're going to solo this. Let's go ahead and make sure that's off record mode. All right, and I have the push out here. Make sure that's off. Okay, we'll just listen to this. I'm going to highlight a specific area. Let's get back to view this. So we're on the kick here. And I'm going to highlight this specific area right here. And then go Command L. And I can zoom in with the plus button. I can go ahead and take this down. So some of the mixing has already kind of been done. We have some effects racks in here and some EQs, compression. Let's go ahead and play this. All right, so we have a kick and a snare on the same chain. This is the quickest way to remedy this. We're going to go ahead and click on the name of this and go Command D. So we can really customize just the kick if we separate those out. I'm going to call this, rename, Command R, Kick Kingsway, because that is the preset of the drums. And this one I'm going to call down below, rename as Snare Kingsway. So really separating these out is pretty important, but we haven't fully separated those out yet. There's a multiple ways of doing that. You could literally just go into this track and find out where the snare is on your drum rack over here by playing the sample. And this snare vintage pops up right here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you guys can see this. So this is the drum rack, and the mute button right here is solo or mute. Okay. And what we want to do is mute this so that just the kick plays. Okay, let's go ahead and try that again. So now just the kick is playing. Great. So what you can also do, and this is probably a cleaner way, I would say, well, just visually it might look a little better, is coming out and seeing the entire track here. I would select the entire track and I would say Command J, which is join, right? And it makes one full track there. When it's an audio track, when it joins, it takes a while, but MIDI is just boom, really quick and easy. Now that I've made it into one track, I can come down to this bottom area right here and click on the smaller MIDI, and notice how the kick is down here low, kick suite it's called, and then the snare vintage is up on top. We can literally just take this snare and select it and delete it. This last one I missed. All right. So now if I go back in here and I go back to our drum rack by clicking on the bottom right-hand corner right here, and I unmute this, and everything can play in this, it should just play the kick. Right? And it also, I personally think it looks a little bit better. So, and then you might want to color code this a little bit differently. So kick color, what color do we want to do? We'll just do this. Okay. So there you have it. We'll do the exact same thing now for the snare channel. Command J, join those. We're going to solo the track we're working on. And instead of doing the whole mute thing, that was just to show you, we're just going to go right in and highlight all of the kicks out of the snare channel and get them out of there. Okay, so now when I play, nice. So that the panning that I want on this on that instrument is happening on the effects specifically. Now, this channel here on the kick, I actually don't want those effects to take place, which is why we separated them. So let's go in here and look at what we have on this rack. All right. So it looks like it might be on our automations, and it's true. So I personally like to go into session view by clicking tab. You can get over to session view, close that down, and then slide this bar right on over to the track we're working on. You can see that this is the solo track that we're working on. It's the kick. And right here, let's go ahead and expand this out so you can kind of see the knobs. You can see how much reverb and delays are on our sends right here. I have reverb 1, 2, 3, ABC, and then D, E, F is different size delays and feedback. I'm going to purposely disable or delete automation and bring back the reverb on the kick and take off all of the delay on the kick. I'll probably put a little more of the B reverb, which is like a 2.5 millisecond. And let's just see how that sounds. Okay, now that that's there, I have this drum bus over here that we can affect. changing the hertz. So it's kind of pushing the frequency, that boom, it's bringing it out around that 58 hertz. Brought up the crunch and drive a little bit, kind of overdrive. Let's listen to the whole mix. All right, so this one has the effects kind of on the high end that we wanted. I also want to make sure that this kick is very mono, right? Not panning at all, or if there's any phasing going on, I want to take that out. So sometimes what you can do is just put a utility at the very end of that chain. And I believe the specialization was something that we were going to utilize on the snare only. So I'll take that off. Utility, I'm going to say create mono. All right, just in case anything in here was moving it around, any phasing with the audio effects. That would make sure that that stays mono when it's going out. Going back to our snare here. And now we have the drum bus. Let's take the drum bus off this snare and see what it sounds like. All right, cool. I like that snare. The snare that I'm not enjoying very much is what we sampled with our Izotope break beat, I believe it's called. So let's go back into that channel. What's that called? Break tweaker, actually. Okay, so that's the original that we sampled over here. And yeah, let's just kind of bring in what is going on with this. Going back into arrangement view now. Like I said, I use session view to visually see the sends nice and easy. You can always, make your sends visible by clicking on the A function, right? And then dropping down the plus button on whichever send that you're talking about, right? So these are all the different effects that we could possibly utilize from our chain. Go to mixer, and then all of our sends are right here. So if you want to see F, there you go. That's the longest delay, and then you press the plus button right here, and then that shows you, this obviously doesn't have anything going on. So it takes a while to actually set up all of your A, B, C, D, E, F sends in this view, and it could kind of look big too. But the visual of it, to kind of see the automations, this is really nice left to right. So that's why I would drop those down when I have those going on. All right, so let's go ahead and zoom into this and listen in. The snare sound is the twang that I'm not liking. I'm going to try and customize that. All right, so one thing that I'm noticing in this is that because this is an audio track now and everything's in that audio track, the kick, the snare, the hi-hat, and all the in-betweens, when I put an EQ on or try and change the sound of the snare, it's changing everything. And we can't separate it as easily because it is in this form. So I'm actually going to go back into, I'm pressing A again. I'm going to clean this up, right? Taking off automation. I'm going to go back into this Izotope Builder, and let's just kind of see if we might be able to recreate what we did here. All right. So this is an Izotope Builder. I think until June 30th, you can get like $1,500 worth of Izotope products for $49. And this is just one of those packages. So check that out. It's a good deal going on right now. Hopefully it's still going on. People that are a part of our program can get access to a lot of our sounds that we have in our studio. We have sample packs. So check out the Produce program in the Academy and the short courses. We have a Ableton course coming up here on Sunday, 7 to 10 for 36 hours. It's the 101, 201. You're going to learn so much in that. Okay. So we are in this view here, and I want to kind of look at what's going on with these different sounds. All right, so this isn't playing yet because this is actually sending to the drum sample. So I got to actually put that into record mode. Notice how the auto is on and off. All right, that was a lot. Let me just bring the volume way down. There we go. So bringing down what's being sent there. I'll go -10. Bringing up the volume here again. All right. So you can take your MIDI device. I have the Push 2 and I also have the Akai MPK Mini, and utilize that to control this instrument. All right. Cool. And this is going to sync to 150. So notice how the sync function is on right here. Go ahead and let's see what happens when we manually put this in. And you can also mute some of the sounds you don't want. Okay. So this is actually a preset that I pretty much made the snare sound less, I would say, kind of less trash can. There was more clink in the one that was that we were listening to before. So we're just going to try and see if we can resample this. What I'll do here is I'll just duplicate this down one. In Ableton 11, you know, there's also different takes, so you can always like look at your takes by right-clicking here and like show take lanes. But I'm just going to purposely take this extra one here and bring it down and zero it out. Won't take up any space at all. And this one right here, I'm going to then delete. This will be our new track that we take. And we know where we're kind of recording, right? From this 5 here. And as a matter of fact, I want to see this as we do it. So we can kind of see where these visuals are. This is what I'll be kind of matching when we record. All right, let's go into record mode. One thing we got to remember is we're not going to solo everything. Control Z that. We got a little bit of pre-roll going on here. Muting the old one. So I was adjusting some of the volumes while we were recording, and it is in picking up those modes up here in the side. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete any automations that I did, but keep that muted. And unfortunately, because I'm trying to put everything on this one screen, that I'm not able to see properly all of that while I'm going. But that's okay. So what I was doing here on this other track is, so I recorded up here. We can just kind of mute that for now. But we want to make sure that this is beat mapped appropriately. Let's go in and just zoom in and see. So there's a lot of lag time going on here with where it came in. So I can actually bring that over and align those to the appropriate locations. Right. So let's see how that sounds right there. Some of these got a little bit wobbly. So this is kind of doing it by hand. The reason why I'm doing this by hand and not clicking quantize is that I have a preference on specifically how these beats go. And this is something you can learn, is just kind of knowing what these beats mean, right? The full numbers are obviously your tempo, and then you can divide that, right, into 8th notes and 16th notes and 32nd notes. So you can always just click right above the section right here when it turns into that kind of volume. That means you can play it from that section just by clicking that. After a while, it starts kind of finding its way on its own. All right, so this is pretty much corrected. I'm just going to do it by ear or by sight now at the very end. Speed things up. All right, let's see how that ends right there.
Can you hear me now?
Cool. All right, so where these come in and how they come in, now that we have our variations in there, we can then place these wherever we want. Okay, in the very beginning, we kept it really simple. I actually don't even need this recorded because we have our sample here that we're going to be working with. But as a matter of fact, if we wanted to put those into separate channels, we could actually, right, mute certain things and then record that into separate chains. That could be also very helpful. So these are just different ways to work on custom beats using some custom extra instruments coming from Izotope and resampling them in your own pattern. And let's go ahead and just do a little bit more with this, and then we'll kind of get into something else. So these breaks here are a little bit much. I'm going to take that out, and let's find a spot for a break, maybe toward the end of the phrase.
Can you hear me now? As you do your work inside and out.
Okay, maybe right going into there.
As you do your work inside and out.
Those things.
Great, and I'm noticing that beatbox we can actually take out in that area as well. Is it this right here? Snap groove.
Inside and
All right, let's go ahead and just, we'll zero out right there.
as you do your work inside and out.
Those things flow through me. Doesn't always.
Cool. So now that we have all these different custom sounds, I think this first part was really clean, and I think that's what I really want to do in most of the track. Let's just kind of keep that as our main. Maybe just put that everywhere for now. Command D. After Command V, if you're selecting on something, then Command D duplicates that across. And there's a couple spots down here that I purposely had some breaks in here, it looks like, and I can kind of do the same thing again. Cool. Cool, let's see if that's the sound I want. Now, some of the higher pitched things, this EQ might not need to be like this way anymore, because I was trying to customize this EQ specifically to that older snare. Now that we don't really need that. That was a little messy. I think right before that was kind of messy as well.
Can you hear me
All right, let's listen to the original and let's listen back to how that original drum was sounding, the one that we're changing. I really like everything but that snare. So I might want to probably go in and go back to the original here. And let's see, what do they have? The demo? Can't quite remember which one. Oh, it's just probably the tutorial, actually. Yep. All right. So there's probably going to be a lot more that I do offline, but let's just go ahead and just listen and try and change this snare. So right here, we can go ahead and just click on a different type of snare. Change it to the different patterns down below. Four is pretty simple. There we go. Taking out some of the sounds. There we go. Just kick, snare, hi-hat. Now we can go into the kick here. I personally want to try and get something else. Just simplifying the kick a little bit. Yeah, that might be the best thing right there. And so there's a lot of different sounds in here, right? All these kicks kind of sound a little mid-rangey to me, but we can always change that with our drum bus. All right, cool. That's the one that we kind of simplified. There we go, that's number 6. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just play this pattern one more time in this new area starting over here. Going to press record and hang on for dear life. Let me try this one more time. Okay, going to press record. Let's try this out.
Always seem cleaner.
It's a little bit off, but it's going to keep the same tempo because I'm going to use this pattern change. Still off tempo a little bit, but that's okay. We're going to line these after the fact. All right, so let's go ahead and just cut this up and understand. I'm going to take this out for now. So we just use our pattern changes within this Izotope plugin down here to change between these patterns in the ways that we wanted. And let's go ahead and listen into what we did and make it align to the click. We can do that visually, right? By sliding this over, I'm going to go Command 4 to get off grid and then slide this right on over. And as you can see, everyone is going to be right on grid because it's at 150 BPM, same BPM, and it keeps that same because I had my finger down the entire time changing the patterns. I did cut right here, so because I had to repress my finger down. And this is where this one wants to slide. Just a little bit back. And let's listen to how that's sounding. Yeah, we were listening to the old track too. That's why that was pretty clustery. Let's go ahead and go to Command 4, get back to grid, cut out that break, and cut out any excess part, right? And let's listen. Might as well zero this all out now. This is our old track. Turn this up to kind of really get the vibe of it. Cool. So I really like how this kick is sounding now. I brought the frequency down on drum bus. I brought the transient down so the clap in the snare is a little bit tighter. It doesn't have so much sustain. All right. So definitely feeling better about that take and how that sounds over here toward the end specifically. Let's go ahead and get back to this beginning one. We may want to just kind of copy and paste that over because I was really loving that last take. Much better sounding here. Kind of taking out some of these highs might help out. So this is the EQ on this track that we're working on. Expanding this out a little bit. There's a different kick and snare. I definitely like that a lot better. So I think I'm going to go with that. break I might want to keep. Just want to make sure the volumes are the same. Too much. All right, that's all right.
Inside and out.
Cool. And this is also part in arrangement view. Is anything that's kind of like having a little tick sound, right? Just go ahead and cut that up. You can do a nice fade.
As you do your work inside and out.
Those things flow through me, doesn't always seem cleaner.
All right. Great. So there's a lot of stuff going on in this track. If you guys want to know how I worked on it, check out our previous live streams on our YouTube page, West Coast Wednesdays. It looks like this, West Coast Wednesdays. Check out SF Garnish or the Garnish Music Network. We have 8 locations worldwide, and we'd be happy to talk to you more about music. There is, on our playlist, we have walking through all the different sound effects using the push 2, how to, you know, create your vocal track and then create an instrument out of it. And that's what you're hearing in this track right here is a vocal sample being played. Why don't we... Right, using that pitch shift feature on the push 2 or whatever MIDI instrument that you have. If you have any questions for us, please email sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. We'd be happy to answer you. And we have an Ableton course coming up really soon, Sunday, 7 to 10 p.m. We also have a music marketing and business webinar with Gary Oakland coming up here on July 11th. It's an hour free webinar class, and it's going to be followed up with a 12-hour course. We have a discount for you, so be in touch with us, sf@garnishmusicproduction.com. We'd love to hear from you. So we're almost done here. We finish at 12 p.m. on our Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as you can see, this track has quite a bit of things. And in my template, I always have it to where I have this all feature right here. And then also this order, right? We just barely touched the order right here. Maybe I'll finish up with just talking about this order just a little bit. So it's just nice to have a visual if you're tracking and you have just a nice color-coded top to where you're going. Like I said in the very beginning of this, this is a 7+ minute song that we want to trim down. So as you're going through it, you're going to kind of look at how long each part is and what can be trimmed down. Let's try this out. Pretty long intro.
Listen to the rules as they change, as they change. No reason but you. Listen to the rules as they change, as they change. No reason but you now.
There we go. You guys can see it again. Sorry about that. I got carried away. You guys were looking at my beautiful new haircut. My bed head. So this is J.A. Folks, listen. nice amounts of phrasing going on here. It's not bad. Rename this as... we had a loop on. Turn that loop off. Alright, that's where that vocal ends. We have a little melody here. This might be something that might be cut out, but it's a nice transition, right? Notice how I have guitar solo nylon? So it's kind of, this is where you can kind of like put your notes in around what you want to put into this track. Pretty long section, so without the nylon or some melody, we might want to shorten this portion up. Changing that a little too loud, that instrument. Melody going on here. A lot of these sections now, I can see how much kind of extra space there is on some of these, right? Breakdown. It's nice to have kind of less in some section. But does it have to be this long?
Can you hear me now? Can you see me now? Can you hear me now? My face in this bed. Can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
A reminder of which part that is. So you can also put markers kind of where you'd want things to trim, right? The transition I probably want to keep, so maybe I'll trim the center. It's a long track. It's 12, but I'll finish this off with y'all. You can also take your kind of your titles from other locations, right? If you want.
Rise into yourself, integrate and acknowledge.
before the rain. I saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself before the rain.
That might be the area we do vocals
I
out.
saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself before the rain. I saw myself.
So this is where the beat kind of comes back in and comes out, and our end is already in there. Let's change that. Let's see. Oops, outro. Before the Rain, which is, I believe, the title of this track.
I saw myself before the rain. I saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself.
You can also make this nice and big, right? So you can really see the colors we're working with.
I saw myself before the snow came. I saw myself before the rain. I saw myself before the snow came.
Nice. All right. So now that it's all color coded, you can kind of see how long each section is, what can be potentially taken out. There are some nice transitions, so you wouldn't want to take out the final phrasing because then some of the transition work that we've done may be cut out. So we have to listen in to each location before we cut something out. For example, I think Marin's voice here. This is just kind of a melody, I guess. All right, so this melody area right here seems kind of the most get riddable. Command Shift Delete deletes the time of the entire track. So that transition now will sound like this. All right, so when you have things like that, this is where you got to probably unfreeze a track and open it up so that her voice doesn't get cut off. How about that? There we go. Cool. So it's as easy as that. And if you ever want to refreeze again, just click freeze. And this is something obviously that takes some time. But freezing the track saves your CPU. And like we heard in the very beginning of the West Coast Wednesdays, what also saves your CPU is by changing your sample rate, right? We had our sample rate for recording or doing a live show closer to like 128 sample rate in our preferences. And we changed it to 1,000 plus to do this work. And that changed. Our CPU usage went from like 30 all the way down to 11 when it was idle. Okay, so that's going to change a lot. So keep an eye out on that. Depending on what phase you are in your recording, your mixing, your mastering, you want to work with your sample rate changes behind the scenes and your preferences. All right, so this is just going to be bouncing down to a frozen track again. And if you have any questions, please email us, call us up. Our number is 510-463-4769. We are a boutique studio, online and in person, based in San Francisco Bay Area. The studio we work out of is Soul Graffiti Studios in North Oakland. And there's 8 locations worldwide of the Garnish Network: LA, Tokyo, London, Miami, New York, Nashville. There's even some more over in Europe. And people that are part of our academy can actually go take courses in different locations. You can go on a vacation and take more courses and sit in on classes in other spots. So thanks again for being with me. I'm Justin from the SF Garnish location and Soul Graffiti Studios. And we are going to take it out now. Come back next Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. We'll do some more mixing and mastering with y'all. Take care.